Hello and welcome to Après Sport, where we bring the après ski vibe to the world of sports. So, what does that mean? So, if you've ever been skiing after a long day on the slopes, you want to kick back with a drink and decompress the long day that you've had. So, we're doing the same thing, just with the past week in sports news. I'm Megan, and I'm joined by my husband Kyle. So we'll be catching up and breaking down some of the top stories from the week's sports news that caught our eye. I'm a lifelong sports fan, obviously a Saints fan. Who dat? And we both love sports, have it on all the time in our household. So yeah, so we just wanted to bring you this. Anything else to add, Kyle?
No, I'm super excited to be doing this with you. We have so much fun talking about sports. It just seems natural to put this online and let people, I don't know, randomly stumble upon this.
All right, awesome. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. So, I wanted to begin by picking just a few of the top stories that caught my attention this week. I'm going to give you the context and then I'll pause and get your reaction. So, I want to give a little bit of a synopsis before we get into it. The first thing I think we have to talk about is LeBron's announcement. So, LeBron James, if you don't know who he is, which you probably do if you're watching this, he's arguably, we'll get into that, the best NBA player of all time. He's is the league's all-time leading point scorer. He will turn 41 in December, and he's in the final year of his contract with the Lakers. So on Monday, this past Monday, October 6th, LeBron posted on X that there would be quote unquote, the decision of all decisions announced this past Tuesday. Of course, this was in reference to The Decision, which was a highly produced televised event in 2010, in which LeBron James announced that he would sign with the Miami Heat after spending the first 7 years of his career with the Cavaliers. So you have this buildup, and the announcement then comes the next day on Tuesday. Turns out that it's an ad. LeBron will be selling a limited edition collaboration with Hennessy beginning this month. Well, after the fact, many said it was clearly an ad. For instance, the Lakers head coach, JJ Redick, said, Coach jokingly told reporters, "You guys are idiots." Many fans did believe that it was true. And what I found was wild is that according to StubHub, the average ticket price for a Lakers game rose from $250 to $500 in the hour after the post was made. So I'll pause there. Kyle, what are your thoughts on all of this?
It's crazy. I hated it. I immediately thought, like, you know who would not do this? The greatest basketball player of all time, Michael Jordan. He would never pull this kind of stunt. And honestly, too, like, remember the first decision, how much crap he got for it and how bad he looked for it. So much so that when he decided to sort of undo it and go back to Cleveland, he like penned that letter and everybody read it and was like, oh, this is amazing. And then you're going to kind of like, I don't know, I kind of feel like crap on that whole process again. I really didn't care for it. And also when I was on X, FanDuel posted this thing. It said like LeBron James is retiring, but then like just before retiring, it's the smallest knot you've ever seen. I'm like, this is so stupid. This is the dumbest thing ever. Yeah, I just don't understand why he would do this. So not a fan of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is, if you just take for it for what he was attempting to do, it's tongue in cheek, it is clever. The fact that he's turning 41 this year and he's, been playing for so long is kind of crazy as a side note. But I do think that, yeah, I remember the whole media circus around the decision in 2010. And it was crazy. His team is the one who produced it. He made this huge deal of it. And I do think it was a slap in the face to these Cleveland fans who, had been with him and was so excited, when he was drafted. So I think that maybe he forgot about that a little bit. I didn't love it. There was a lot of mixed reactions, but overall it's kind of just kind of like it was a silly thing. Like I think it was clever, but I don't think that he ever thought people would react that way. So the
Mhm.
ticket price thing was, which is I found was super interesting. So obviously people did buy it. Anything else to add about LeBron? Is he the best player of all time? NBA
No,
player of all time?
no, he's not. No. And I can't tell you how many kids I've had this argument with, like on school buses, the baseball games, and the soccer games, and a golf mat. No, Michael Jordan is the best basketball player of all time, and Michael Jordan would not have done this kind of a stunt. This is this stupid. It's oh look at me, all eyes on me. Oh, it's like no, dude, come on, like what's going on? This is dumb. And honestly, too, like for Hennessy for alcohol, like come on, like not a fan of that.
Yeah. Michael Jordan's just like, I'm gonna play golf, my fancy golf cart course with all my fancy friends. So
That's right. With drones delivering snacks
with
and all
Jones
sorts of
delivering
like,
snacks. Look
yes,
that up if you
that's
don't know what we're
that's
talking
the
about.
greatest guy. That's what we want to talk about.
Okay, moving on to the next story that I do want to discuss. Arizona Cardinals head coach Jonathan Gannon was fired $100,000 by the team after a heated sideline confrontation with running back Amari DeMarcado. So, if you don't know the context of this, the Arizona Cardinals this past Sunday were playing the Tennessee Titans. DeMarcado, during their game, had what appeared to be a 72-yard touchdown that would have put the team up 28-6, basically, out of reach for any type of comeback. But what he did is he actually celebrated too early and dropped the ball before getting to the end zone. So Titans got a touchback as a result. That started their comeback. They ended up winning 22-21. And then, after that play, Gannon, the head coach, was seen, shouting at the running back and actually hitting him. And that's what went viral. And that was when he was, fined by the team. I don't think the league's done anything at this point, but that's the moment that went viral. What do you think about that, and his reaction? And also, the play, but like, I don't think that was ever warranted, especially actually hitting him. Want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple of things for this one. And an awesome topic, honestly, because it's all over. It's all over X right now. Like people are talking about it. I mean, it's just such a stupid thing to do. Like cross the goal line, complete the play, then you can do whatever you want to do. Just don't do something like this. It also drives me crazy too that like when you look at this, you're like, wow, this was really close. Like, did he get over the line? Did he not get over the line? Why in the NFL? Probably a separate topic altogether. Do we never have the angle that we need to
I know.
confirm exactly what we need with all the technology that we have?
It
This is
cannot be that hard.
insane to me. This is insane to me. So, anyways, okay. So beyond that point, I would be so frustrated at that. And honestly, like I've dealt with this at times. I've dealt with this with people that I've coached, being like, "What are you doing? Finish the play. Get through home plate. Get to first base on it." You see it all the time. It's like hustle. It's completing the play. I hated this. I hate watching this. I hated it. Now, let's talk about the coach. Like you can't like look like a hard poke. Okay, okay. I got a hard poke.
I don't
Okay,
think a hard,
like
I don't think
oh,
any touching is okay.
yeah, or like a come on, like a little like a little chat. Okay,
Okay.
okay,
Okay.
okay. Or like a come on, you got this little butt pat. Okay, okay. But look, we can't have what happened on the side. Like you can't treat players like that. And it kind of reminds me of when these guys in the NFL are talking about the difference between playing in college and the difference in playing in the NFL is like you are a grown man in the NFL and you deserve to be treated that way. Like that would be. Can you imagine at your job somebody like reaming you out and then like physically like touching you like in like an aggressive manner? No, that absolutely would not fly. Now I know it's football, but at the same time, like this is not how you. This is not good leadership, in my opinion. You should not be hitting him like that. And he does it more than once. He does it like twice, and it's like, dude, like, okay, like, you don't think this guy already learned? You don't think this guy feels bad? Like, you don't think that he's gonna like not do this again? You're just trying to make him look like an idiot and make yourself feel better and chew him out on the sideline. It gives you some kind of clout because you're the Cardinals head coach and like your team is very good. So let's go Seahawks. All right, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, there has to be a level of professionalism. Like, I wanted my head coach, passion and emotion and excitement, but it definitely crossed the line here, right? Like, you are a professional. I mean, one of the reasons I love sports is that it does evoke such strong emotions, right? But this guy is, and I can only imagine the emotions that you feel when you're actually in charge of the whole team, but it definitely crossed the line. I think it's completely unnecessary. The guy is already gonna feel terrible, and you can't do that. Like, what is what is he gonna do? It's not gonna help the team overall. It's not gonna help you. that what's done is done. So I agree, and I applaud the Cardinals for finding him and doing it before the league did. So I think that was the right move, and this is the tone, this is the culture we want. That's not acceptable. So I think it was totally appropriate for them to do, and I definitely didn't like seeing that. Like, but it's also like crazy to me. Speaking of like the dropping it before getting into the end zone, ESPN had an article like 7 times this has happened recently. Like I think it's happened already another time this season. I mean, that is just that's wild to me that that is happening that often. So yeah, definitely don't do that. It's such a mental mistake. And you see the teams that have those type of mental mistakes are the ones that often are not in the playoffs. Anything else to add? I think we've covered that topic sufficiently. So I do want to move on to one more topic in terms of the
Let's go.
headline from this week's news. So we are in the middle of the MLB playoffs right now. So this isn't about that, but it is about robot umpires that are coming to the MLB next season. So to give a quick summary about that, in 2026, Major League Baseball will implement the automated ball strike or ABS challenge system. So, this is introducing a form of robot umpires to the game. So, this will allow teams to challenge ball and strike calls that are made by the actual human umpire, of course. The goal is obviously to make the game, calls more accurate, fewer arguments, faster games. This isn't going entirely to the tech. It is going to be the Hawkeye tech tracking system, which I think is the same as tennis.
Mhm.
But yeah, so it's been tested in the minors. They also did in this year's All-Star game. And fans and players seem to like it, I believe. So they're moving forward with it. But just want to get your thoughts on that. You're a big baseball fan. So what do you think about this new rule next year?
Okay, so this is actually really interesting because this is like a middle ground, right? There are basically like these two camps in baseball that exist. Okay, and I want to get your take on which camp that you're in because you're not like a I would say like you watch baseball for sure, you know about baseball, but you're not
Very
you're
fair
not
weather.
you're not like yeah you're not like deeply connected to a team,
I like playoff time. It's
right?
too many games.
Yes. So basically, there's two camps, right? Camp number one is that we need calls to be right, like regardless of everything else. And if we go to robo umps or robot umps, as they have like called them, every single pitch is going to be correct. And you would still have like an umpire behind home plate, and they would umpire the game, but the balls and strikes would be handled by robot umps, and every call would be correct. That's camp number one. Camp number two is like part of baseball is the element of these umpires in figuring out what they're calling on the day. Now, look, I've played a ton of baseball. I've been a high school varsity baseball coach. Part of the game has historically been where is this guy's strike zone and figuring it out and pitching to it. And if you do that better, more times than not, your pitchers do better and you win games. So, my question for you before it comes back to me, Megs, is are you more in the camp of if you had to choose one, get the call right every single time, or the traditional route of umpires making their calls and some are good and some are bad?
Well, this is interesting. I'd probably lean towards get the call right every single time because I just think it evens the playing field and there's just so much subjectivity, in terms of different umpires. But again, you know more about baseball. It does make me think we watch a lot of soccer, particularly Premier League soccer, and the offsides technology they have now and or how they're doing offsides. It does take away from it a little bit. Someone can be like a fraction of fraction technically offsides, but if you look at it in real time, to the naked eye, you're like, that should not be offside. So I think it takes away from it a bit from a viewing perspective, but I don't know. Balls and strikes can really just are so I don't know. It's every single play.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think overall it makes sense to get it right every time. What do you think?
Um, yeah, I mean, I'm real. That's really hard for me. I would consider myself more a baseball traditionalist, where like I want pitchers to hit, and I'm not a huge fan of the DH. Like that, that should tell you a lot about my take on this one. And I tend to favor more of like I like the umpires making making these calls and figuring out what they're calling and what they're not calling, and it adds this human error element. So what ABS has done is it's been that middle gap between the two. So we have the ABS, which isn't robot umps, and we have the ABS, which isn't like traditional umps calling every single pitch. And now batters, pitchers, and catchers are the only ones that can choose to use the challenge, and you get two challenges, and if you get it right, you get to do more. So this is good. I mean, today in a game, there was a call on a stolen base in which the catcher popped up to make a throw and blocked the umpire's view, and the umpire called it a ball, and it was like smack dab in the middle of the plate. It was clearly a strike. And this is one where the catcher could have been like, hey, like, let's go ahead and challenge that. That would be a strike. And because they called it the ball, it changed the dynamic of the count, and it changed the dynamic of the game a little bit. So I'm in favor of this little change to do two. I am weary in general of technology being added because, like you said with the Premier League, when we start adding technology, it starts to create essentially a different game with some different like rules and some finite differences between what we had in the past and what we have in current. So, did I answer the question kind of?
Yeah, basically, you didn't pick a side, you picked the middle ground. So you kind of cheated on your own question, but
Wait, no.
I think that's fair.
Sorry. Let me choose a side. I'm going to choose traditional. I want umpires to make the calls because I also find it really fascinating when umpires have perfect games. Like there are websites or there are YouTube channels that break down umpires that are like, this guy called 100% perfect game. That's insane for the velocity for everything that occurs in a major league game for umpires to have perfect game. I think that's really cool. If you add this element to it, I think it takes a little bit away. I like when umpires have little weirder strike zones. They're giving them this pitch. They're not giving them that pitch. I enjoy that. I think it's part of the game. But if you're new to the game, you could be like, why is this not just part of the game?
Yeah, it just seems so
Yeah.
straightforward. Well, interesting. I
Why not
think,
get the call right? Yeah.
yeah, I think middle ground is obviously the way to go, and I'm sure they'll expand it if it works well. All right, so we looked at some of the top stories from this past week's news. Next segment, I'm calling deep-ish dive. So
Uh-oh.
I
Uh-oh.
want to look at a current story or one that's been in the headlines and delve a little bit deeper into it. So the topic is what is going on in the WNBA. So there's a
What
lot
you
going
tell
on
me.
right
What is
now.
going on in the WNBA?
What is going on in the WNBA? This is a very high level overview is there's a lot going on. I'm not going to capture everything, but I just want to give you my very brief synopsis so we can discuss it. So currently we have the WNBA finals that are going on between the Las Vegas Aces and Phoenix Mercury. The first game of that series had the league's highest rating since 1997, which was the league's first season. So, obviously big viewership. And then, ratings are the highest that they've ever been. Merch sales are up 500%, and the league is projected to reach over 1 billion in revenue this year. And this week, David Barry, a sports economist, he posted a piece in the New York Times that compared the WNBA's players' percentage of basketball-related income compared to NBA players. So he reported if it was similar, apples to apples, if they made the same in terms of their basketball related income, the top players in the WNBA would be making, 3 million in salary, based on kind of their share compared to what the NBA gets. What percentage of that do you think the WNBA players are actually getting currently?
I have no
Do you have
idea.
any guess?
Like a fraction, a small fraction.
10%.
10%. Okay.
10% of that cut. So obviously wildly underpaid compared to NBA counterparts. Against this backdrop, the WNBA's current collective bargaining agreement expires on October 31st. So if they don't come to a new agreement by that date, there'll be a potential work stoppage that will impact the 2026 season. On top of this, Minnesota Lynx star Nafisa Collier publicly criticized the commissioner Kathy Engelbert over stalled negotiations, poor officiating, and league leadership. So her statement has been widely supported by her fellow players. And Engelbert has acknowledged the issues in a written statement, but just her response and just leadership in general has been widely criticized. So really, I think the outcome of this is going to shape the future of the WNBA and its players. It's a really pivotal moment. for this league, and just women's sports in general. But also, zooming out a little bit more, just looking at our current, our society still, and what that wage gap. Recent data from the Bureau of Labor shows that women earned approximately 82% of men's median earnings, just looking at the last quarter of 2025, this most recent quarter. And then that pay gap still varies by age. Older workers experience a larger disparity. And then also, obviously, by race and ethnicity, with Black and Hispanic women experiencing significantly larger gaps. So this is still a really big issue, that we still have this big of a wage gap. I think it's also an inflection point in terms of women's sports. The league is really growing. You have these new young stars, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Paige Buchers, who have really elevated the game, brought in, more viewership. Also, you have the veteran leadership that their popularity has also risen. So I just think it's a really interesting and important topic, and I wanted to get your take. I know it has a lot of background information. Again, the deepish dive. But what are your thoughts on all of that?
Okay, like my first big thought is like you can't have a work stoppage when your league is gaining ground, when your league is gaining traction. It's the worst thing for the league. And I immediately think about Major League Baseball had a work stoppage in the 90s, and it took a while for Major League Baseball to come back, and what brought it back was something pretty spectacular. And that was the home run race between Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa when they were all juiced up on steroids and hitting a bunch of home runs. That's what brought fans back to baseball. When you have work stoppages, it takes away, it takes away any positive momentum that you have, and you arguably have like your biggest superstar in the history of the league right now. They need to be playing right now. You need to have them on TV. Now, talking about officiating, I'm not sure if we're going to talk about like if you want to like fold in like Caitlin Clark and like the fouls that she's been having and stuff like that on her. Like, is that going to be part of the officiating commentary? But it's just really easy. The leagues protect their star players. Every single league does this. This is not rocket science, right? The Major League Baseball has star catchers that get in. One guy got in a collision at the plate. It was kind of like a blindsided collision. Major League Baseball says no more collisions at the plate when the catcher's not looking. Okay, weird guy slips on first base, tears his ACL. A Major League Baseball star, they've rearranged the first base, made him a little bigger, made him more friendly, so that doesn't happen again. Football, you have guys diving at Tom Brady's leg. He tears his ACL. What do? They change the rules. You see all these sports changing rules to accommodate their best players to keep them in the game because that's what puts fans in seats. So yes, I'm okay with that for commentating on officiating. And for salaries, yeah, I think you got to pay your highest players. You try to get your highest players paid the most amount of money possible, and then all the other salaries kind of rise underneath that because then there's this big gap. And you're like, wait, why is there such a big gap? So I'm not sure if I answered the question there, but
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting in bringing in the history from Major League Baseball. Um, I I think that I think the popularity is at a point where I don't think it's going away even with a stoppage. I hope it doesn't get to that point. I hope they get what they deserve. Women's soccer went through this. The women's national team, who I think is not even arguably, like, definitely more popular than the men's team, done
yes,
so much more for the sport in the
yes,
US, and the
mm-hmm.
men's team
Yep,
deserves every bit. But they went through this big fight, and they were just asking for the same thing. And that
mm-hmm.
was not even a apples to apples comparison.
Mm-hmm.
They easily, I think, were more
Yes.
popular than the US men's team. So, interesting comparison. I just hope that, it shouldn't be as difficult for the WNBA, as it was for that team. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I full heartedly agree. Yeah, the U.S. women's national soccer team should not make the same as the men's. They should make so much more. Like they are not a disappointment. They're not a joke. Like I'm going to say all these things about the men's national soccer team and the U.S. Men's Soccer Federation that runs it. Absolute joke. You're doing a terrible job. You should all be fired. I feel very strongly about this. But the women's national team, inspiration. Like our kids want to get U.S. women's soccer team soccer jerseys. Absolutely, men's jerseys. Nah, we'll hold off. And I'm being sincere with this. So then they should be getting paid for that greatness. So I'm 100% on board with what you're saying about the women's national soccer team. Um, But can I say just like salaries kind of reflect league revenue? And I'm not sure if you saw Connor McDavid might end up being one of the, Connor McDavid is going to be one of the greatest hockey players of all time, right? He just won the MVP of the Stanley Cup on the losing team. Like if that tells you anything about his performance, he just signed a 2-year contract extension worth 25 million. So the best player in the NHL was only making 12.5 million dollars a year. Like
Yeah.
so, I don't know.
But I think these, yeah, I mean, we're not talking about even that. I mean, they're talking about, 3 million, which what was top NBA player. And I understand the revenues are different, but I just think that, yeah, we can go on and on about this, but I think it's really important. We have two small kids. The oldest is a girl or daughter. So I want her to grow up in a world where this wage gap, it gets a little bit smaller at least. It feels like it hasn't in my lifetime, or as much as it should have, I should say. So I do think it's a really important story. I'll continue to follow along. But I did just want to discuss it. And we'll see what happens. So
Wait, can I ask you a question?
um, yeah.
Would you pay the same amount to go take our kids to go see Caitlin Clark as to see LeBron James? Would you pay like the same ticket fee to go see that game?
Um, yeah, I probably would.
Okay, what?
I think Caitlin Clark. Um, I mean, I probably wouldn't pay to go see basketball in general, but I like basketball at
Ditto.
times. If I'm gonna pay top dollar, it'll probably be like for an NFL game or
Mm,
for a soccer game or like a US women's soccer team, definitely
mm,
for sure. No, all kidding aside, but like when Caitlin Hart was in college, I was watching all of the
mm,
women's Final Four games, those tournament games, and I knew her name, I knew Angel Reach's name. Paige Bueckers, I knew their names. I didn't know
mm,
any of the men's college
mm,
players. I just didn't. So, like, I just think that that's become. I just think is one of the more exciting players and has brought more eyeballs to the sport. But some of these other players have been doing it for a long time, and the level of competition has gotten higher. Like all
mm.
these things, just doing some research for this segment, it's really interesting, and I think that you know I think I would. What about you?
Well, I'm going to compare her. No, I would not. I mean, maybe see Caitlin Clark. Maybe like only Caitlin Clark would be the person that I would want to see. But I'm going to compare Caitlin Clark for a second to David Beckham because I think what the WNBA needs to do, and it needs to be less rigid, and it needs to look at ways at appeasing your superstars and growing the sport when you have like when the iron's hot, and the iron's hot right now. And I think about the MLS was a failure before David Beckham, and when they had the opportunity to get David Beckham, the MLS acted really quickly. They made a bunch of rules to pay players X amount more to have like this. What was it like a non like basically like a you have a unlimited outside the salary cap player that you can really pay as much as you want to, and you do that and you bring David Beckham in,
Like a
and that
super
essentially
max
grows.
contract.
Yeah, it grows the sport, and that's what you need to see the WNBA do. The WNBA needs to get creative with this because I still don't feel like you're paying Caitlin Clark and some of these top stars their top value. But also, I don't feel like it's I don't know. I still don't feel like the access to the WNBA is as easy as it is to the NBA and other sports. And that's on the league. That's on the WNBA.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, well, we'll keep following the story, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. Okay, so final segment, which I'm calling a hot take.
Ooh.
I want to get your opinion on something that's been happening um, related to the NFL. So this week's topic is going to be NFL expansion internationally. So Vikings just completed back-to-back games in Europe. They played first in Dublin and then in London. They stayed over there during that time. My take is that while global expansion may be, the strategy and great for the NFL, I don't think it's great for US fans. This season there are 7 international games spanning 5 countries. So I just think it's not great as a fan. I don't want my teams playing that game. I don't think it's, a competitive advantage, especially if it's one of your home games. I'd much rather see the NFL expand to a team in London. They have three of those 7 international games are going to be in London this year. Just expand to London, give them a team. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? What's my hot take of the week?
I mean, I honestly don't mind the expansion to London. I mean, like, why not? I mean, it's like, I mean, travel's not that hard. I mean, how far of a flight is it from London to New York versus New York to Seattle, right? Like, it's
Yeah,
not that big of a
it's
deal, in all
similar,
honesty.
honestly.
And so
Yeah.
I kind of like that idea of expansion. I like, look, whether or not we like it, we know what's going to happen. And Roger Goodell's spoken about he wants the NFL to be bigger globally. So here's what I want to do. I want to make it better to watch these games. I like if I watch the NFL Sunday morning, and it's an NFL Europe game, and I don't know who's playing in the game, and they show a picture of the fans. I have no idea who is playing in that game based off the jerseys that people are wearing. I'm like, is that a Russell Wilson Seahawks jersey? And that's an Aaron Rodgers Packers jersey. And there's a guy wearing is that a Yankee jersey? Like, is this wear your American sports jersey to the? You have no idea who's playing because there's no connection. It's like a novelty. There's no connection to the team. So here's what I would want. I'm excited about this. I want every single city to adopt a foreign market. And I want them to play a game or two there every year and develop this like global community
I like it.
together. Like, imagine, like, we went to Paris, and for somehow, like, every place we go, you find the random person that is wearing. Do you remember, like, the first time we went on a trip, like, squiggly lines flashback? We go on a trip to Ireland. This is my first time, like, out of the country globally. I'm like, or domestically, I'm like 30 years old, and I'm like, oh, I'm so scared, right? And we're on a bus in Ireland, and you just start yelling, like, at this Saints fan. You start yelling "Who dat?" And I'm like, what is going on right now?
How you
And then
know if they're a true
you're like,
fan?
not a real fan, not a real fan. He didn't yell "Who dat?" back, and I'm like, he
Yeah,
was yelling at this
obviously.
dude off a hop on hop off, which is your favorite thing in the world, in Dublin. And I was like, I think I'm gonna have to marry this girl. I think this is my person. I have to marry this person.
Uh,
Anyways,
yeah,
I
I
just
stand
think
by that.
I think it'd be really cool to connect these cities together. And like, you found the Paris sports bar. Obviously, you connect New Orleans to Paris, and you let them.
It was a
That would be like,
Paris, it was a Saints bar in Paris.
right.
There was a Saints, yes.
It
Yep.
was crazy. Somehow you found that. Obviously, that you stumbled across that, and I just thought, and you know what? I'm gonna post a picture on the screen, taken outside of that bar. So it's gonna be on the screen. You're gonna
I
see
don't know
it
if it's really a
somewhere.
Saints bar. Drew Brees had been to the bar, so we're claiming it's a Saints bar. Yeah. So
We're gonna say it's a Saints bar. Anyways, uh, you, and then, like, imagine now you go to Paris, and you play. I think you should play two games there every single year. You play two games there every single year, and it like, now that you
I'm
get
down.
more Paris Saints fans in.
Yep.
And Seattle obviously connects to Japan, connects to Tokyo, and then my third suggestion is that the Vikings obviously have to go to a Nordic country, and then or Iceland could be really cool, and they do like the Iceland, like, soccer clap. That would
Oh,
be awesome. So I just think,
I love
why
that.
not? Let's, if we're gonna do it, which clearly we are, why don't we go all in on it? We can even have, like, adopt a family, and we can have, like, you can have, like, Parisians come over and stay with us, and you can take them to the Saints game.
Okay, okay. Going down the
Okay,
rabbit hole.
that's that's my thoughts on this. What do you think about that?
But yeah,
Adopting a city,
I love that. Roger Goodell, if you're listening, Saints claim Paris.
and you
That's
suck.
you heard it here
Boo.
first. Boom. I would take that. Yeah, no, I like that idea. I mean, the NFL, the international games are here to stay. Something to live with. I do like the, early Sunday morning games, having something to watch, but I never know when they're happening. It's like, okay, oh yeah, there's an international game. So they're just kind of like
But like,
a
don't you think it
random
doesn't really?
surprise.
But don't you think it doesn't really feel like you're watching this game, and it's like, what am I watching? Is this an
No,
NFL
exactly. It
game?
is. It's like all teams. It's like all teams represented. No one's like there is no home field advantage. So yeah.
You know what kind of reminds
Um,
me of? You know how your dad calls, like, Tulane games when they were bad, like football light? It kind of feels like NFL light when you're watching
NFL
games in
light,
Europe. And
yeah.
the scores are always like 24-21, 17-14. 20, there's
Yeah.
no crazy weird 30-26. It never happens. It's
Yeah.
always the most
It's
blah.
That's true. It's not a true NFL. That's why I think, like, I think you just really hit on it home. It's not like a true NFL environment. So it just feels like, what's the point? Like, there's no home field advantage, like, besides just like expanding the game, internationally, which, I'm sure is a big push for the NFL for the revenue. But I'm just saying, my take is from the fan perspective. I don't love it, but I agree it's here to stay. Love the Adopt a City. angle. Let's make that
Obviously,
happen.
I'm full of ideas.
Send this straight to Roger Goodell. All right, with that, those are all the topics I want to cover. I just wanted to wrap it up. What's the game? What's the sporting event you'll be watching over the next week?
Well, I mean, it's international break for soccer, so I'm not going to be watching any of those games because I hate watching international friendly matches. Is the worst. I'm going to be watching Major League Baseball's postseason, which is going to be phenomenal, and then obviously watching Sunday NFL football and having those lazy Sundays, which is awesome. And I think the people out there should know you legitimately will watch every single NFL game that is on Sunday.
Yeah,
You'll
I will.
randomly wake up and be like, should we go get?
We just
Should we
ignore our
go?
children and we let them roam around the house. Yeah,
like
just like we
like
have our
feral
room
animals. Yeah.
for sports. They can do whatever they want. Yeah, no,
So
I do. I do
that's
love
what I'm gonna be
NFL.
watching. What are you gonna watch? Are the Saints gonna get the second win this week? Like what do you think about this one?
My expectations are extremely low. No, I don't think. I mean, I always have hope. Gotta have hope as a sports fan of, um, but no, I don't, I have no expectations. Yeah, I'm just excited for more games. I have been really getting into the MLB playoffs, I will say. Like that's been fun to watch. Want to check out some of the WNBA games for sure. And then I also like I thought it was interesting. Joe Flacco, recently traded from the Browns to the Bengals. He will be facing off against the Packers now twice in the last few weeks, so that should be interesting to see. Bengals could use some help for sure. But yeah, I just thought that was a funny storyline.
That'd be a cool.
So
That'd be a
yeah,
cool stat to see if any quarterback has lost to the same team twice, playing on different
I'm
teams in the same
I'm
season.
sure they'll show it. I'm sure they'll show it. Someone someone out there will show it. Anyway, that's it for this edition of Après Sport. Thanks for watching. Comment below. Let us know what we missed, what else we should be covering, and thanks for watching.